How did that go? Good. Okay. Did you learn something?
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was good.
Okay, good. Good to hear. Yeah, I like that exercise because, like I said, it's sort of shows you in the ecosystem, and also, I mean, it is one of our tools to communicate your impact, and you know how hard it is to get organic reach on social media. And because if you post it somewhere online and highlight your suppliers, often you get that engagement from all of them. And so it gives you a bit more organic reach and also talks about your local impact. So we like it for several reasons, but please do use it, tag us, and we'll add it to our Facebook album. We've got a pretty great album of businesses who have shared their posters over time. So the reason why we ask you to talk about your impact is because consumers love local, and study after study shows that they want to support local. They understand that it has an important impact in their communities. We started Buy Local Week. One of our goals with the BC Buy Local campaign and Buy Local Weeks was to illuminate the market, really to show people who are the local businesses, what are the local products, to make it easier for people to support local. The CFIB research, they talked to 1,500 people across the country, and 9 in 10 consumers, not unsurprisingly, say that they love having independent businesses in their community and think they're important to their community's future. And 4 in 5 say that it's important to them that the money they spend is redistributed locally. And we saw from the impact stats that the easiest way to do that is to support a local-owned business. Unsurprisingly as well, given all of the inflation issues lately, price was the number 1 factor for consumers. 1 in 4 also say, though, that supporting their community is important to them in their spending. This shifts, I want to say. Right now, with inflation, price is the number 1 thing. But product quality is also very important. Seeing the product before people buy it, the variety, all those kinds of things. So all the other things that local businesses can really shine on. And they may compete on price, they may not be able to compete on price, but people are particularly price sensitive right now. But what we found is we did this research last Christmas, so just over a year ago, and we also talked to 1,000-ish consumers across the province, maybe 1,200, a lot in BC. And product quality was number 1. Availability was the second thing, which it's kind of an odd thing to come up, but it's very of the times, these studies. Last year, supply chain issues, had been a big issue. So that's why availability floats to the top, and it was really higher than price because it actually doesn't matter how much it costs if you can't get it. It doesn't matter as much. So those things change, but quality is always, among the top. Getting better service, all those kinds of things are also were among the top 5. And these are sort of the top 2 factors that we asked people what their main the main factors were in making their decisions around shopping. But when we removed online shopping from that, because free shipping was one of the things, but of course if you're going in store, then you don't have to worry about free shipping. So once we took out free shipping, things like owned within the province or city or Canadian owned start to float to the top 5. So it's really important. This is why we are emphasizing that you talk about how you're local and that you tell your story about where you're based and who you are, because people do really care. And it's hard. It's hard to, I'm like the most local consumer you're going to get. And I don't want to go and lift every bar of soap and try to find out where, look for an address and find out, make it easy for people, really talk about how you're local, talk about where you're based, and it helps. We also found a bit of a generational divide, and we could dig into this more if you're interested, but we found that boomers, so those 65 plus, were the most important things here are local in store, which is in pink, and local online, which is in orange. And so you can see the boomers are the most likely to support local in store, and also the most likely to support local online. And next to them is Gen X. So just in terms of like thinking about where your target is, that's it's important to think about. There is a big difference. A lot of the younger generations grew up with more, more shopping online, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe they aren't as don't have as much money to spend. Maybe they don't have as much time because they're in their most productive years. And so just to think a little bit about, there is a bit of a generational divide. We didn't find as much as we thought between men and women. Also, the CFIB study, of course, digital is so important, and we could see it coming pre-COVID. More businesses said that online shopping was stealing more of their business. And in the CFIB study, over a third of consumers said it's important for them to browse products online at least. And then, they found that 3 in 5 of the retailers who were part of the study already provided that option. And I was surprised that it was so low. Actually, I would have thought it was like most consumers. But anyway, then the other thing is, this is a bit dated. It's 2021, but this was a Salesforce study done. And again, it looked at the generations and whether or not they are more likely to support a small business that has a digital presence online. And again, the millennials, the Gen Z, those who grew up with the internet as part of daily life are much more likely to support businesses with a digital presence. But it's still over 40% for all generations, and still pretty high, over 50% for Gen X. So that's a segue into how your digital marketing can be easier. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Molly, and just let me know when you want me to advance your slides.
Sounds good. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for your time this afternoon. My name is Molly, and I work for CRISP. We are a fractional marketing group based out of Vancouver, BC. I had just started my 4th week of the job, so brand new, but before that I worked on the client side for a few other small to mid-sized businesses running marketing in Vancouver, with a focus on e-commerce. So if you can advance, please, and we can go to the next one. Yeah, so I work in marketing, and I know better than anyone how much noise there is around marketing and digital marketing. And it seems like there's always a new trend to follow, and there are always like new platforms and new things that you must be focusing on. At CRISP, we call ourselves the meat and potatoes of marketing. So Amy referenced this earlier in the presentation. We're pretty practical. We're never going to advise TikTok is the first thing to do. For this presentation, we kind of put together just a playlist of digital essentials. Because I know you're running your business, you're super busy. Here are the core things that we'd recommend focusing on. And I think Amy has a poll. Yes.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Everyone see the poll? Yeah, just if you let us know. Oh, and I think it is single choice. So if you're doing more than one, or maybe the one that you're focusing on the most.
Love to see Google My Business. I think more and more businesses are becoming
Awesome.
aware of it. It's great.
Awesome.
Media.
Oh,
Awesome. Okay. I think everybody's 8 people. Yep. Perfect.
Yeah. And if you have questions during this, like, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. And I'll try to catch it, or Amy will catch it as we go. So yeah, meant to be super interactive. Okay, so starting with the website, it is just key for 2023, and the branding really does matter. It's not recommending spending hundreds of thousands of dollars working with a branding expert, but thinking about the look and feel of your website and the logo. Does it reflect who you are as a company and the experience you want your customers to have. The other thing is your website platform working for you? Is it easy and for your customer? So is it easy for your customers to make a purchase or find hours of operation or get in touch with you? And is it easy for you to kind of log in and use the tool? And I just say that because there are so many amazing e-commerce platforms on the market today. So if you are dealing with a really old-fashioned, what feels very clunky for you, website, there's so many great options, and it might be something to look into. Enabling the chat tool, it can be a great way to be in touch with your customers. I worked for a company, a mobility device company. We sold a walking bike that was $3,500 Canadian. So not an impulse buy. If you can, and only online, you can't, we're an e-commerce, they were an e-commerce company, nowhere to try it. And so we did have a chat tool. But a couple of years into the business, we thought, maybe we should ask our customers or our they weren't customers yet, but people in the chat to give us their phone number, and we can just try giving them a call to kind of chat through the questions they might not be asking us in the chat. And we thought, no one's ever going to give us a phone number in this day and age. Well, people did. And we were able to connect and like get at their kind of underlying fear of purchasing, which for most people this is an expensive purchase. Who is this company? And so we were able to like kind of speak to that, and our sales went up like 10x. It was quite incredible. So something to consider. And then CTAs or calls to action. Is it clear when someone comes to your website, what is the one action you want them to take? And is it clear for the customer to take that action? So is it a big buy now button? Is the buy now button above the fold? Like people don't have to scroll. And one interesting way to kind of, you've looked at your website. This happens to everyone, right? You get really used to your own website, the look and feel and the flow, and you know where everything is. But it might be interesting to ask a group of family and friends who don't go to your website often, to just, ask them to go to the website and have a few questions, and just get some interesting kind of feedback, like if things are laid out in a clear manner, easy to find. And then I will say this Canadian Digital Adoption Program grant, Stream 1, is all focused on updating and improving websites. So I would have a look, and I get into it a little bit more detail, but it's a fantastic grant. We've worked with so many companies who've been able to utilize the $2,400 grant to improve their websites. So Google My Business. This is just how people are searching. Recently, like I am so sick of buying my produce and my fresh food from Loblaws and Buy Low and Safeway. I live downtown Vancouver, right? Like those are the major options. And on the weekends, I love going to Langley, Richmond, Burnaby, and visiting the local farms and farm stands. But I don't know the back roads. And like I am searching using Google Maps and Google My Business. And it's just, that is the way people are searching and looking for businesses. Ask for reviews and maximize all the features. Google works best when you're using all the things. Okay. SEO, it is just a core kind of foundational digital tool that I recommend implementing. I kind of liken it to the gym. When you start at the gym, right, you have to get a membership, some workout clothes, and work out for a few months. And then you build up a good level of SEO brand searching. Now, if you stop doing SEO, you don't go back to zero the next week, but it does decline. You want to kind of keep going to the gym, keep feeding your SEO, your search engine optimization. So it's and I recommend starting with kind of getting an audit done, because they're going to be able to point out what are your keywords, and how do you want to build, where do you want those keywords to be in your website, so that Google is indexing them when people are searching. Social media. We recommend delegating this. If you are a small business owner and you're dealing with legal and accounting and finance and inventory, the last thing you need to be doing is a social media post too. And this can be fantastic to bring someone young into your business, a digital internship, or a young person, a first job. And, what I would recommend, kind of planning out a calendar, a 3-month calendar with them, and letting them post. It's important. It's the way people are going to find your brand, but it's something that can be easily delegated. Now, newsletters and email. Capturing email it's kind of like someone coming into a retail location and you have an opportunity to make them a customer. You're not going to make everyone a customer, but they've definitely expressed interest and they want to be there. And so it's important to prioritize capturing email addresses, and think about the different ways you can do that. It can be on a website. It can be through social media. That can be a post that you do once every 2 weeks. Sign up to our newsletter and you send them to a link where they can do that, or even collecting them in store. And then around newsletter, so on your website, there are 3 automations that I recommend setting up. So that is the welcome sequence. It is a welcome email when someone has provided you with their email address, and you can kind of tell them a little bit about who you are and what they can expect. There's an abandoned cart sequence. So if someone leaves something in the cart, you want to ping them 1 to 3 times and say, hey, you forgot this. It might seem annoying, but it really works. There is great data and studies behind that. And then the post-purchase sequence. So someone's become a customer. Their love of your brand is high in that moment. And you have an opportunity to convert them into a brand ambassador, where they go on to recommend your brand to a friend or someone else. So it's through that kind of post-purchase sequence where you can make them feel, you thank them and make them feel special. And yeah. Okay. And then for paid digital advertising, again, so this is like how you find new customers in the digital world, of course, and your website and your email news flows, I would say, need to be ready. If you're going to pay to bring someone to your website, you want it to look and feel and operate the way you want to. You wouldn't advertise for a retail store and not have the store set up, for example, have all the inventory under it's still in boxes. So the clunky metaphor, but hopefully you see where I'm going. Also with paid digital, hire an expert. I've been in marketing for 7 to 8 years. I've done Facebook marketing advertising courses. I've done Google Ads courses, and I know just enough to be dangerous. There are folks, companies, and groups of people who have spent 20 years just focusing on Facebook ads. Leverage them. It is a deep and specific area, and I would take advantage of them. And for paid digital, every platform will have a paid advertising option. And so it's just really about knowing where your customers are. Are they on Facebook? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on LinkedIn? And utilizing kind of a paid ad strategy appropriately. Okay, and how am I doing on time, Amy? Couple minutes?
If you could be done by 20 after would be ideal. Yeah.
Okay, yes. So this is a kitchen retailer in the Kootenays. And in 2019, they were in Nelson. They were brick and mortar, a single location, and foot traffic, word of mouth, and tourism. Now, of course, the pandemic happened, but she was also thinking about going online. And so she reached out to us, and we helped her set up an e-commerce flat store and strategy. And in 2020, she had increased her revenue by 20%, and online sales was about 5% of that. And by 2021, she had 4x'd her online sales. And she is now in a position where she's considering being able to retire because the business has been successful enough. It probably wasn't going to grow enough and be a retirement nest egg option if it just stayed brick and mortar. And so this is what we did. This is the meat and potatoes that we did. So we got really, really clear on who her core customer was and the digital buying journey that they were going to take. On the branding side, all we did was we invested in a new logo that kind of reflected this customer, and a redesigned website. They were on Shopify, but we just cleaned up the look and feel, optimized it a little bit. We did take advantage of a few grant programs. It was before CDAP, but so we took advantage of a few grant programs. We did hire an expert for paid digital advertising. And then we got a digital intern to kind of help with the social media posting. We took on a Google shopping campaign and integrated it really, really closely with the Google Merchant tool. So it is her product catalog. So she's a kitchen store. She had about 1,200 SKUs, if you can imagine, big inventory. And so we helped her get that catalog optimized for Google Merchant tools. So when someone is searching for a red silicone whisk spatula, a photo of her product comes up in the Google search bar. And besides social media, we did install kind of a newsletter, a regular newsletter cadence, so that she could be letting her customers know about Black Friday deals and all that good stuff. So, and that took a year. This was a 3, 6, 12-month plan, but for all of those bullet points, it did take about a year to get everything done. So it's marketing is a bit of an investment. There's no one action that you can take that's going to 4x sales overnight. Anyone who tells you that is you might want to poke a little bit more. Anyways, thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Molly? Yep, Susan?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Molly. I'm just wondering if you can comment on responsibility of business owners for maintaining any customer data with respect to privacy. Some people may not be aware, but it is an important piece, and especially if you're a small shop, how do you make that work?
Excellent question. So there are kind of CAN-SPAM policies and regulations that you need to familiarize yourself when you collect customer data, either through like a newsletter or a purchase. Now, a lot of the platforms that you're going to work with in this day and age will have their own privacy policy and services agreement. So you will want to, read with any partner that you're taking on that is going to be facilitating the digital transfer of that information. You're going to want to make sure that they're that their policies are in line with the country you're operating with. So for BC, for example, Shopify, 100% no problem. Like a Canadian company and rigorous kind of privacy policy standards.
But do you mean like that your, like, say your newsletter program is offering like an unsubscribe button and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Well, and that's more, so there's the whole storing of data and making sure that is protected. And again, working with reputable platforms and understanding their privacy policies. And then, yeah, there are some rules and regulations to be aware of in terms of, you know, people can opt out of any communication, digital communication with you. And so if someone has done that, to be respectful and just to be aware of the rules.
Yeah. And hopefully you're working with the right tools and the right expert who can kind of counsel you on all those rules. Any other quick questions? All right. Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And then there's the CDAP stream. Can you go through that really quickly, or?
Absolutely. Yes. As I say, these grant programs from the government they've been really successful. They are, it's a clear program. If you qualify, they're easy to access, and the deliverables and the outcomes are very actionable. So we give the government enough money. If you are interested on whether or not you can qualify. So stream one is, I think you have to have made $30,000 revenue in one of the last 3 years. And then a few other, like you need to be, you can't be a public company. You can't be a franchise or a chain. It's sort of a private or not-for-profit Canadian-based company. But if you qualify, you're eligible for these grants. And the government also, they have a network of certified digital advisors. CRISP is one, so they have vetted kind of marketing companies, agencies, and experts, so that companies who qualify are working with someone who's been vetted by the government. And
Catherine, are you also a digital advisor or a certified advisor?
No, I am not.
No, you're not. Okay. Yeah, you have to work with someone who's been vetted by the program. And I think you have to also work with a company in your province, which I think is great. It has to be a local owned business. So they've thought through. We're going to have to move on just to get you out of here on time. But Molly's email is here. I've got it again at the end. So feel free to contact her if you have questions on that program. I think I thought Tim joined because I think he was also interested in that. It looks like he's dropped off, but I think he said he had to go. But I'll if you can, we can connect with him after the workshop. And definitely some businesses want to know what the tool, you know, whether the grants are apply to them and how to apply and all that kind of stuff. So
yes.
So I just have a couple minutes left. So I wanted to run through our other local impact tools that you can use to do buy local marketing, and then upcoming buy local week. So we already went through the How Are We Local poster. Hopefully you learned something about your business. Kind of the next phase is to do the community impact assessment, which produces something like this on the bottom right. And that's a little infographic that includes more of the 4 Ps, not the profit P, because nobody really wants to talk about that, but it's really talks about your purchasing, your employment, and your charitable giving. And then on the bottom left, we have an example of one of our profile stories. I think a couple of you have profile stories already on our site or are in the process. So I'll just let you know how you can apply for those. So the How Are We Local poster is really talking about, you know, your partnerships with other, you know, with your suppliers. And then the infographic image is the details on your economic impact. And then the profile includes how you're supporting other local businesses. So that's mainly just through your purchasing relationships, but also through partnerships and co-marketing and things like that. And then any social and environmental practices that you have that you're proud of. So the community infographic, it's available on our site. I have it again in the link in that resources page. It's bcbuylocal.com/community impact, I think, or impact assessment. And this is like a Tasty Tours in Langley. Chew on this Tasty Tours. It's an example of theirs. You basically produce it yourself. You can go in and put in your name and your business. Your business name shows up on the top here. And then the position in your business and the sector, those are really the only required pieces of data. We're also there trying to collect some data from businesses that are willing to participate in our research over time, but there's very few pieces of data that we collect to produce this. And you really only need 3 of the 6 data points. So you need a percentage of local employment, which if you're very small is 100%, maybe it's just you. And so that's 100%. And then your inventory, if you have any, that is both BC and Canadian. And there's another tab on that spreadsheet that you can download that looks at your local inventory, and you can figure out who's local and who's not local owned, and then what's local grown and local made, and come up with an overall percentage. And then do the same for your service purchasing. So it's kind of taking that how are we local poster and making sure you include everyone. And then you look at who's not local and who is, and come up with a percentage of BC suppliers. And then maybe you have suppliers that are outside BC, but still in Canada and still private. So that's kind of next best economically. So we like to include that. And then the last piece of data is the percentage of revenue to local charity. And just know that we don't want this to be some massive accounting exercise, but we want you to be honest about it and ballpark it as much as possible. And if you do this, you can do it online by yourself, or you can book a time to do it with us over the phone. We do it in about 20 minutes, usually as part of a profile. And I'll help you do it and work through who's local and who's not. And then we produce it and include it in your profile if you have one. But we really want businesses to do this, again, as part of learning about where your impact is and maybe where you can improve your impact. And then to put it out there on social media. Here's how we're local. And, we've kind of got our branding there at the bottom because we feel like it provides a bit of a third party, verification that you've gone through a process to produce this. So there's some info on how to go and produce your own infographic. And then the last thing is a business profile. You can apply to have a profile. It's really based on how much resources we have available at the time. But if we have a partner in your area, like if your business improvement area or chamber is involved in our campaign, then it's easier to allocate the resources. So Grant, for instance, is a Squamish Chamber of Commerce member, and the Squamish Chamber is our partner on the Buy Local campaign. So we're able to prioritize his doing a profile on his business. So there's some examples on the site, and I'm just going to whip through that so that I can give you a few minutes on our campaign that's coming up. So the Buy Local campaign started out as Buy Local Week during the first week of December every year. It now runs year round, and we try to cover all the major purchasing holidays. That's the consumer facing side. We also have BC Amplify Local. So if a couple of you are more in the business to business supply chain potentially, so you might want to focus on that. Some of the tools are the same, but we have another tab on our site where you can check that out. And you can we have a supplier database that we're growing as part of that. So you can apply to, you can just join the supplier database, and we're doing profiles on some of those businesses. But the BC Buy Local campaign is basically in-store and digital. So if you have a store, or have a product that's sold in stores, we do have branded collateral that you can use. You can, we're sending this to any BC company in the province. And so you can just apply on our resources page. You can ask to be sent the collateral. And then online, we're providing a digital platform. If you use the BC Buy Local hashtag, you're pulled your Instagram. If you use it on Instagram, you're pulled into that feed. So it's a bit of free advertising for your business there. And then, of course, we do social media and digital advertising during all the major purchasing holidays, but mainly during Buy Local Week. That's when we have partners across the province working on it. We're also doing multicultural and multi-language posts and digital advertising for different holidays. And that's brand new as of 2021. So Buy Local Week is the first week in December. It starts on the 27th. That's Cyber Monday. And we're doing daily posts, specific and general collateral and features on our communities that are involved. And then the campaign runs in different areas throughout the year. Like we've done one in Langley and one in Squamish. And we usually like pull partners together and do an area focused campaign. We're working with Kitimat coming up starting in February to do a campaign in their area. And those are usually with multiple partners. So how can I engage? This is always how we get what we get from local businesses. It's not the best time of year for us to engage with consumer facing businesses. And I know it's a harder time for consumer facing businesses to do anything because they're trying to make, they're trying to make their revenue for the year in November, December. But it's a good time to engage the media and to engage consumers. So that's why we do this particular campaign at this time of year. But here's a list really of how you can get involved. We have daily posts. You can share our posts. I've given you a few tools. We really want you to use those. It's an opportunity when more people are talking about why to buy local. And so if you're sharing, like support local, here's my local business and what it does, it's just a way for you to tag on to that, to the branding and the increased attention around local business at this time of year. So share your infographic, share your How Are We Local poster, tag your suppliers, share other aspects of your local impact, the story of your business. Maybe you have, hiring practices or employment practices that you really want to feature. Maybe your supply chain is really local. Soulbite, you've got an amazing story around, how you were founded and, where the money goes, all of that. I mean, that really, those kinds of stories, I think need to get out there and consumers really want to hear that. And so particularly if you can feature any of your, charitable partners or your suppliers, then those posts, when you post them, they go further because they get more engagement. Integrate any buy local messages in your social media throughout the week. Any of your businesses that are looking like for content, everybody's always looking for content. What are we featuring this month? This is really something that you can integrate into your messaging for your social media and to do with your clients if you're working with them. Just post all the BC Buy Local materials. There's tons of stuff available. All the digital resources are available. We'll send you print resources if you want them. And using the BC Buy Local hashtag, again, that's like what, we launched it in 2012 and now everyone uses it, and the province uses it for their agriculture campaign even before they brought back Buy BC. And so it's really, people have that, search function in their feed for that hashtag. And so I encourage you to use that hashtag. There's a lot of them out there, support local business and this and that, but that's really what we're encouraging people to use. And then just share how you're local during BC Buy Local weeks, feature your suppliers, feature businesses that you're working with. I'll give you some ideas about how to do that in a sec. And then last thing is if you're local to Vancouver, we're having a pretty great launch party with CFIB at Terra Breads Olympic Village on the 27th. And we've invited the press and some dignitaries and lots of local businesses, and we would love to see you there. It's on our events page at locobc.com/events. So I'm sorry we're late, but I'll give you a few ideas. These are a few ideas about how this is one of our partners for one of our campaign, but it could be your business, any post, but use the stats, use the impact stats. This is Discover Downtown Langley. And here they've done their own post, but in the text, they're talking about, did you know this is how much money stays in the community when you shop with local, small local businesses. And so, we have got tons of research out there. I've given you lots of stats. You're going to get a copy of the slides. It's really impactful and consumers care about it and they're really not clear on what the stats are. So that's a powerful thing to do. Another thing that I've seen a few people do, one of our Squamish partners did this because she worked with clients. This is a printer in Langley. Their entire social media is their projects for their clients, and all their clients are local businesses. So they're sort of like demonstrating how they're local and how they're part of the community, and also, you know, giving a bit of a promo to all of their clients at the same time. I love that strategy. They really do a great job of it. We've worked with Stongs for several years. During Buy Local Week, they featured online and in store all of their local products that are available at Stongs. So again, that's a way for them to show, to demonstrate how local they are in their purchasing and what kind of amazing products are available. And also, you know, get a bump from Nellie's and Ernest Ice Cream and all the cool local products that they provide. They got really great engagement on those ads. This is one of my favorite pet stores where we go to get my dog's nails cut. And I love Discover Dogs, how they've taken all our materials. And, you know, on the left, you can see how they've cut and paste some of our graphics and talked about, you know, did you know local retailers like ours are, you know, having this kind of an impact? Another post they did was, you know, about local businesses, a picture of their family, you know, when you're spending your money here, this is the actual family you're supporting. And then they've done some great stuff around their staff and what kind of employers they are. And also just, you know, they're always raving about their staff. So I think they do a really good job at sort of like highlighting the different aspects of impact for their business and telling a great story at the same time. Any questions? Some more examples of local branding after the final slide, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to get out of here. I realized we're a couple minutes late.
I will say, Amy, just on social media and
Mhm.
tying into the examples you were showing, people love behind the scenes. Social media is all about kind of bringing people into your business and into your, they love the
Mhm.
behind the scenes stuff. So it really
Yeah.
speaks to the slides you just
Yeah.
showed, the impact, and like, you can.
Well, how many of us said we love we love connecting to the community? Like that's what we all love about local. That is not, you know, uncommon. People really do want to hear the story behind the business, something personal about it, you know, and who the people are, something quirky. I mean, I have some examples of just like that I've collected over time about, here, Proudly Canadian, it's right on their website. Swimco, family owned, Canadian born, female led. Fortunately, they don't exist anymore, but they're they're talking about their founder. They're talking about there's a family behind this business. This is a furniture shop in Canada. You know, when you buy, it's designed and made in Canada. People care about that. It's front and center. I love this example. I ordered, my husband's like, oh, I need socks. He knows I'm the one to go to figure out like, how can we make the most local purchase here possible when you're buying socks? So I was like, oh, JB Fields is made in Toronto, the Toronto area. So we ordered socks and I thought this was brilliant. They include this postcard with every order. And it's literally like how many socks they make annually, how many employees in their factory, all their knitting machines, how long they've been in Canada. And so I just a little bit about their history. They started in the logging industry. And so they're really like telling their story, talking about their impact. And I mean, they made me a customer for life, right? I've posted this so many times. So many people are like, I didn't know you could buy socks made in Canada. And so I think, never underestimate these little things that you can do to tell your story. Again, I'm from Ontario, so some of these things are when I'm traveling there. But my favorite, like this is like a tiny little meat packing company in my this tiny town where my parents grew up. But right on their homepage, they're like, here's our family business. This is a personal thing to them. And they're telling their story right as soon as you land on their website. And their website, believe me, is not fancy. It's a town of 200 people or 2,000 people. And so they don't have a fancy website, but they're very good at telling their story. And, people in farming towns, they want to know who are you? Who's behind this business? I don't know if any of you are familiar with the ketchup gate that happened several years ago when French's was going to move out of Ontario, but they doubled down on Canadian branding. And now, you know, you buy a French's product, either mustard or ketchup, and it's right on the label. They talk about, you know, this is not only made in Canada, but also with Canadian tomatoes. So I think they've done a great job at, you know, making the most of the controversy around them potentially leaving Ontario. So connect with us. I'll go back to the page where we have our contact info. And yeah, feel free to reach out. You can apply to be part of our supplier database. You can, on that same form, you can, if you're a B2C supplier, you can apply for a profile. Solbite, they've got a great profile on our website if you want to take a look at what those look like. And yeah, please engage in Buy Local Week. It's coming up. It's a great time to tell your story and to share materials and just start to become part of the movement that is trying to shift things in BC.